Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to MUFC versus Everybody. I am your host, Sean. Apologies for the late notice today. I was trying to get the post going to let everybody know a little earlier, which just taking a little longer, but did have some things I needed to do elsewhere today. But I did want to make sure I stopped by and shared a little bit of some breaking news that just broke right as I was going live. So apologies for jumping on a few seconds late. But then obviously today I wanted to do a deep dive into another player that United are heavily linked with, another player who I really like, another position that I think we're in dire need of an upgrade in, and that is defensive midfielder. So a couple of late breaking news before we do get started, though. Don't forget to hit that like button, guys, and get involved. I wanted to make sure I stopped by. So Donny van de Beek to Girona could be finalized next week. That's coming from Fabrizio Romano. United and Girona have agreed on a transfer for Donny van de Beek. Romano sounds like it's going to be a small fee, like less than $1 million, from what I've read. And he reports that even though it's a small fee, there are very achievable, very easy to get add-ons that could pretty much almost guarantee that it's going to be closer to like 5-6 million in that first year. And those are like appearance based. So if he makes some number of appearances, obviously it's pretty achievable. Could take a little bit more add-ons, though. There could be some more add-ons in terms of maybe performance or how Girona do that. Could easily, actually not easily, but could take the overall fee for Donny van de Beek to closer to between 10 and 15 million, which when it's all said and done, 10-15 million for Donny van de Beek, it is a loss, obviously a very heavy loss, but it's better than probably what we could have gotten. So, and then Fabrizio has reported that there is a very good sell-on clause included in that, so that could actually help us. The problem is Donny hasn't really played a ton since leaving Ajax, a little bit of injuries, and then he was obviously never going to be guaranteed minutes as a loanee either at Everton or at Frankfurt. And then injuries kind of suffered him a little bit, especially at Everton, and then obviously at United too. It was such a big bummer. If there was ever a transfer that I was super bummed didn't work, it was this one. I love Donny van de Beek at Ajax. He was so vital in Ten Hag's dominant side during that powerful run, 18, 19, 19, 20. Donny actually finished like 26, 27, 28th in the Ballon d'Or votes for that year that Ajax were so dominant, because he's such a good midfielder. Mentally, footballing IQ, Donny van de Beek always, to me anyway, looked just levels above the rest of the United squad when he came in. It was such a bummer that when he did play, it was often alongside people like Fred or some of the second stringers who just weren't on that same level. And so his game kind of suffered. He was making a lot of runs, trying to do a lot of movement, and receive the ball into ideal spaces. And our players just that he was alongside in those matches just weren't able to find him. I think physically too, maybe Donny wasn't quite up for the Premier League, unfortunately. And he definitely wasn't suited for some of the managers that he worked with at United. I'm just going to put it out there. Ollie didn't know how to use Donny. So I'll leave it at that. So Donny van de Beek looks like he's going to Girona. It looks like it could be announced this week. So best of luck, Donny. Loved you, man. I always used to sign you in FIFA when you're at Ajax because I loved you so much. And I was so excited when we signed you. Such a bummer it didn't work out. But I wish you the best of luck. And we'll go from there. But the big breaking news today, right as I was going live, is that it's coming from Fabrizio Romano that Joshua Zirkzee has given his final green light on a move to United. It sounds like all the personal terms have been agreed. The clubs are ready to go. Zirkzee wants to move. So if you want to learn a little bit more about Joshua Zirkzee, what his career has been like, what his numbers have been like, what he offers, what kind of profile he is, what I think he could do for United, go check out that scouting report video I did the other day. It goes into a deep dive. Let me know your thoughts on Zirkzee in the comments on that video. And don't forget to drop a like on that video if you are feeling so generous. But that does bring us to today and the topic of today's video, and that is Manuel Ugarte, right? I want to take a closer look at that midfielder we've been heavily linked with in recent weeks. I've been a fan of Ugarte for a few years now, since he took over for João Palhinha at Sporting. He's young, he's got fight, and he's been a top target for us in this window. So I'm going to take a look today at Manuel Ugarte's career, his numbers, and how I think he could fit into Erik ten Hag's plan. So before we do get stuck in, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. Get involved in the chat with any comments, questions, your thoughts. What are your thoughts on Donnie leaving? What are your thoughts on Joshua Zirkzee looking like it's pretty much a done deal? Let's dive in. So everybody knows Manuel Ugarte as this powerhouse number 6, but oddly enough, he actually started his career as a youth player as a striker. And then he was kind of moved, and maybe it's tapping into those ancient, latent, kind of hidden striker abilities that have helped him bury that penalty and knock Brazil out of the Copa America yesterday. Who knows? But yes, Uruguay are through. They knocked out Brazil on pens last night. So big up Palestri, big up Ugarte. Well, we don't celebrate Darwin Nunez because we don't like Darwin Nunez. If you know, you know. But it was during this time in the youth ranks of Phoenix, which was a popular club in Uruguay, that Ugarte was really cutting his teeth. He moved to central midfield. And he was so impressive when he joined the youth ranks of Phoenix that he was actually promoted to Phoenix's first team when he was just 15 years old. And that move and his subsequent debut in the first team in December of 2016 actually made Ugarte the youngest professional play in Uruguay, in the 21st century. It's always a good sign when a player that young is pushed into that kind of role. Obviously, it's not a good sign longevity-wise, but we saw it with Wayne Rooney, for instance, Jude Bellingham, Erling Haaland. You can it's a good indicator of natural ability and skill and talent, right? And definitely a good indicator of potential. So it does get better too. He was actually made club captain at Phoenix when he was just 18. So again, that shows a level of leadership and control and mentality on and off the pitch when you're an 18-year-old and you're made club captain. We saw that with Ruben Neves, for instance, was club captain of Porto when he was a teenager. And so it's a big deal. Not bad, right? So Ugarte made the step up from Phoenix and signed for Portuguese side Famalicão in January 2021. He's eager to test himself on a higher level, right? And initially, he wasn't used as frequently. It makes sense going from being club captain in Uruguay's league. They've only got I think 16 teams in that league. It's a small league, but it's a top flight league in Uruguay. To Portugal Premier Liga. It's a big step up. And so good was Ugarte and so impressive and so many heads was he turning that he only spent 7 months at Famalicão before league giants Sporting came and kind of scooped him up from their league rivals when they were interested in a backup option for João Palhinha. So João Palhinha was there already, in his mid-20s-ish, impressing. They needed backup. So at that time, Ugarte was actually also getting interest from other clubs in Europe, namely Fenerbahce. Fenerbahce wanted him as well. He signed a 5-year deal with Sporting, again, meant to come in and be that rotation option, but kind of like how Højlund was meant to be a rotation option when he joined Atalanta, and he kind of was thrown into the first team when there's injuries or dips in form. This is what happened with Ugarte. João Palhinha picked up an injury around the middle of the season of 2021-2022 season, and Ugarte stepped up. But he was so impressive. He seized that opportunity when he took over, and Ruben Amorim was so impressed that he actually kept him in the starting 11, even when João Palhinha was fit. He seized that chance. He impressed his coach, and he got an extended run in the starting 11. So those are the kind of things you want. When you get your chance, you have to take them. This is why so many players, maybe at Madrid, or even some players at like big clubs like United or City or Liverpool, like they make the move and they look like it could work out, but they just don't impress. Where's anyone tell me where Taka Minamino is these days? Kind of a situation, you're right. I think we're seeing it the same as with Camavinga. I was watching Camavinga with France the other day. I watched that Portugal versus France match. But anytime I've watched Camavinga for Real Madrid, he hasn't been super impressive to me. I'm not saying he's bad. He just doesn't look at the level as everyone else in that squad. So you have to take your chances. And big clubs throughout Europe were already making moves to Ugarte, after only being at Sporting for a couple of years. He'd solidified himself in Sporting's, pretty much their starting lineup. He's a midfield general in their midfield, and Admiral likes that three at the back system. It does ask a lot of midfielders. Chelsea and Liverpool were pushing hard for his signature last summer, but it ended up being PSG who won that race. They paid 60 million euros, which was his release clause at the time. And the wages, I think, too, were a big sticking point for a lot of clubs. I think they wanted like 200K and PSG ended up paying that. So he started off his PSG career very, very strong as well, which we'll look at in more detail a little shortly. But he sort of steadily fell out of Luis Enrique's plans towards the back end of last season. There were reports claiming that Enrique didn't really think that Ugarte offered as much on the ball as he did off the ball. Obviously, he's excellent at winning the ball back, excellent at breaking up play. But as we saw from Luis Enrique, especially in Champions League, he trusted Zaire Emery and Vitinha as his midfield pivot there. And they offer a lot more on the ball. Obviously, Vitinha is a great midfielder. I love Vitinha. He was in kind of that number 10 at Porto. He's dropped a little deeper, and he's kind of become this playmaker, almost like a Frankie de Jong, João Neves, Kevin De Bruyne kind of role at PSG. And Zaire Emery is still young, but he's a very good dribbler on the ball. So they complement each other well. But I do remember watching PSG a lot in the Champions League and wondering, why Ugarte wasn't getting minutes, because I did feel like PSG could do with a little bit more physicality in midfield, which Vitinha and Zaire Emery don't necessarily offer as much of. But hey, it is what it is. Their loss could be our gain, because now that brings us to this summer. So after pretty much being told that he's free to leave PSG, Ugarte is reportedly very close to agreeing to a transfer with Manchester United. Fabrizio Romano has stressed how important of a target Ugarte is for us. And now that Bayern Munich looks set to sign João Palhinha, he's Vincent Kompany, who every time I mention Vincent Kompany and Bayern Munich, I have to laugh at Vincent Kompany. Oh, hands up who thinks Vincent Kompany is going to be Bayern Munich manager by the end of next season. I'll wait. I don't see. Yeah. The eyes have it, right? But Bayern Munich signing João Palhinha pretty much means that United have a free run. Remember, Liverpool wanted him last summer, but Liverpool ended up getting like 4 midfielders last summer. Right? And reports are they're still looking for a defensive midfielder, but he's not going to get as many minutes at Liverpool as he would if he were at United. And I think right now that's what we can offer a lot of these players is minutes, because we have so many priority positions. We've seen a lot of players leave. We only have one striker. We need a center back. Left back, you could argue, is even almost a guarantee if someone can come in and stay fit and they're good enough for the first team. And obviously midfield, we probably going to be losing one or both of Erik and Casemiro. So we have minutes to offer. United have also been heavily linked this summer and throughout the later last season with Benfica's young midfielder João Neves. But Benfica aren't budging on that release clause. I think that we've kind of seen Ugarte as a plan B, which is kind of reminiscent of looking at Frankie de Jong and then settling for Casemiro. I don't think we'd be settling necessarily, because obviously Casemiro was a good signing, and I think Ugarte would be a tremendous signing as well. But he could be almost less than half of what we would be paying for João Neves if Benfica aren't going to budge. I think we've had another bid rejected, and we'll talk more about that. So let's take a look at some of Ugarte's numbers. We'll start with his time at Sporting. So he came into Sporting in 2021 and then spent 2 seasons. And so looking at his percentiles here, what he excels at, what you're going to see when you look at his percentile ranks is the big numbers are the passes attempted and pass completion. Okay. He's winning. He's moving the ball. His progressive passes are kind of middle of the road. But what this means is kind of like a Casemiro, kind of like an N'Golo Kante when he was at Leicester and Chelsea. He's winning the ball and he's finding a teammate with it. His job is to win the ball and find a teammate. And he does that super, super well, because if you scroll down a little bit and look at his tackles and interceptions and blocks during his time at Sporting, if you look at his tackles and interceptions and blocks in his first season, he's literally in the top 1% for tackles, interceptions, and blocks per 90. And his blocks dropped a little bit in his second season at Sporting, but his tackles and interceptions were still in like the top couple percentile. So he is one of the most elite midfielders when it comes to making tackles and interceptions, basically reading the game, breaking up play, and winning the ball back. He is elite. And then if you look, what's interesting too is his successful take-ons at Sporting were in the 89th and 83rd percentile per 90, which means not only could he win the ball back and find a teammate, but if the pass wasn't on when he won, he could actually carry the ball on his own. I've seen him do this with a little bit of trickery, a little drop of the shoulder, a little just riding the tackle. He can carry the ball, and I do like that a lot in a midfielder. Fast forward to his last season at PSG, and what we're seeing from Ugarte is and some of those take-on numbers, but still great numbers in terms of tackles and interceptions. He's still in the top 1% for tackles and the top 4% for interceptions. So still doing what Ugarte does. His passes attempted have slowed down a little bit. His pass completion is still in the top 5%. He's got a 91% pass completion last season. His successful take-ons are still 67 percentile. So even though he wasn't getting as many minutes on it, he was still doing what he does and doing it very, very well. Winning the ball back, finding a teammate. It's very simple, but so effective. So what you get with him in that regard, again, is a defensive midfielder who wins the ball and loves to make a tackle. Some would argue he likes to tackle a little too much. He picks up a lot of yellow cards, but he's still young. And so he's some of that can come with experience. I know Maldini used to, say, if I've already failed if I've had to make a tackle, basically. But I don't mind the way Ugarte makes a tackle because he does remind me a lot of Wan-Bissaka, the way he's very good with a slide tackle. He's very good at winning that ball back in that way, but he does that in midfield. He's very, very good at that. It's interesting to me too that Luis Enrique didn't rate his ability on the ball because, again, his successful take-ons at Sporting were actually very, very good. Could be a difference in systems. Obviously, Ruben Amorim likes that 3-4-3, 3-4-2-1 system, which places a bit more responsibility, a little bit more onus on the midfielders to do a little bit more on the ball as well. But again, his take-ons last season weren't bad. He's still in the top, 60 some odd percentile is not bad for defensive midfielders. So I don't necessarily see what Luis Enrique was talking about, but I'm not the manager, and I'm not anywhere near manager level. So I will defer to Enrique's expertise in that regard. So what do United see in Manuel Ugarte? What would he offer to Erik ten Hag's system? Obviously, he's seen as kind of this ideal Casemiro replacement. I think he could do with a change of scenery, and I think United could do with a bit more physicality in midfield, with Casemiro's prowess in that regard diminishing a lot last season. So some of that could have to do with the injury that was misdiagnosed by United's medical staff that ended up seeing Casemiro miss more time than he might have. But obviously Casemiro is in his early 30s now, and for a guy who's known for being kind of that brick wall in midfield, winning the ball back, and then also we've seen Casemiro can get involved high up the pitch as well. Even his speed in the tackle, even his speed reading the game, he was getting left behind. I think a lot of that does have to do with this system. Casemiro's never been the fastest, and so when you play with that high line, his recovery speed, or the lack thereof, is going to be on full display. But it wasn't necessarily that we saw from Casemiro last season. It was a lot of the really stupid errors that he was making that were kind of an indicator that maybe his head's just not quite in it. I don't fault Casemiro too harshly when it comes to some of the errors he made when he had to play center back. Some of them were stupid, like that header back to Onana that cost us a penalty. I think that was against Bournemouth. That was dumb, but I think he's a little slow, and because of that, we've seen him pick up a lot of cards, give away a lot of fouls, a lot of free kicks, and I think we need someone who's just got a little bit more of ability to get around the pitch now. Erik ten Hag does like physical midfielders in his system. If you remember, you watching Ajax, Edson Alvarez was a big, big presence for Ajax. That he's at West Ham now, the Mexican midfielder, very good at. He reminds me a lot of, you guys ever watch like PSV, and Ibrahim Sangare, who's now at Forest, I believe. I loved Ibrahim Sangare. He was a guy that I really liked. Again, similar profile, physical, big guy, but able to read the game, able to get all over the pitch and just be a force, just constantly sensing where the danger is going to be, breaking a play and winning the ball back for his side. Ten Hag likes those kind of midfielders in his system, especially when he does play that double pivot. Um, but he also, being Dutch, being a fan of that total football, he likes him to be able to offer some on the ball as well. So yeah, Alvarez is no slouch when it comes to his passing and his shooting. Casemiro obviously has a good shot on him, has a good pass on him. Casemiro so dangerous on set pieces as well. And so I think Ten Hag values that. And I think that what you'll see that from Ugarte as well. Those progressive carries, those passing numbers, I think could do. And we'll talk a little bit about his heat map too, but he's not just a 6. KD, hey, good afternoon. Caught the live. You did catch the live, man. We did a little bit of breaking news. Good to see you. We talked a little bit about Donny van de Beek possibly going to Girona. Looks like that's finalized. And then we got some big news right before I went live about Joshua Zirkzee giving the green light. So, yeah, welcome to this deep dive on Manuel Ugarte a little bit. So, though Ugarte plays in a pivot, he's actually oftentimes played as the deepest midfielder in a system as well, able to hold down the fort and be the last line of defense, able to be trusted with that responsibility. It's a very delicate part of the pitch. I've said many times when it comes to playing that, the most important trait I think a midfielder can have when they play in that deep role is composure. You have to be comfortable on the ball, especially nowadays, especially in the Premier League, because all teams now press high, and United have pissed themselves whenever we are up against a high press. We saw Pogba constantly losing the ball in our own half, our own defensive third. Fred, who's constantly doing it. Eriksen can do it sometimes. Casemiro, he doesn't necessarily lose the ball, but what Casemiro was guilty of literally every single match is this no-look pass directly across the pitch in his own third. That's one of the things you're never supposed to do, but Casemiro does it all the time, and at least 1 or 2 times a match, he gives the ball right to an opposition player. You have to be composed in that area of the pitch. KD, buzzing over the Zirkzee and De Ligt news. Almost a here we go. We are getting there, man. We're getting there. Ugarte, would you be happy with just him, or do we need another midfield signing? Hence the bids for Neves. I wouldn't. Obviously, I do think we need to improve. It's never, for me, it's when I say I see us getting one player, it's never that I only think we need one player. I would say I think we need to improve in a lot of areas. It's more about being realistic about our abilities financially. This window, obviously, the Glazers and our inability to negotiate have seen us overpay in fees and wages, which has left, and our inability to sell players for anything has left us in a bit of a tricky spot financially, which INEOS inherited, and we're trying to grab a hold of that before we can really see some changes. So it's more of just being realistic about our current financial situation, which is why I did that video on the bargain signings. But I do think when it comes to Neves or Ugarte, I think it's one or the other. I think Neves is our top choice. Ugarte is kind of our backup option, kind of like Frenkie de Jong was our top choice, and we got Casemiro as a backup option. I do think that we could do it especially if we lose both Casemiro and Eriksen. I do think we're going to need another midfielder, which is why I would love if we tried to get Adrien Rabiot. You imagine an Adrien Rabiot and an Ugarte double pivot. That would be awesome. You get the experience of Rabiot, you get that physicality of Ugarte. Rabiot is good at carrying the ball. I think Manu could learn a lot from Rabiot. I think that we see Manu rotated a little bit more. I think Manu is a little bit more involved in Ten Hag's plans, whether that was due to Mount being injured or not. But again, Mount, what do we do with Mason Mount? We got Scott McTominay still rolling around in there as well. So I do think we could do with another one. It's just a matter of finances. So we will see. Again, getting back to Ugarte, so he sometimes will play as that lone midfielder, but if you actually look at his heat maps, most of his touches, the vast majority of his touches are in the middle of the pitch, just inside either half. And so as his team is pushing a little higher, he's getting a lot of touches in the opposition half. That to me is ideal for a high pressing system like Erik ten Hag wants us to do. He wants us to be high pressing. He wants us to push high up the pitch, win that ball back in advanced positions, and transition. Now, a lot of people, when they hear transition, the Ten Hag out crowd or the media will automatically be like, oh, he just wants to play counterattack. Counterattack is a transition, but not all transitions are just counterattacking football like your Jose Mourinho or your Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's just winning the ball. Like Jurgen Klopp's side are quick on transitions because they do that gegenpress. They win the ball at the pitch and then they transition. Transition is just switching from defending to attacking. It's not just counterattack. And the bonus in that regard is Ugarte's ability to recover the ball and making that tackle would also prevent us from being so vulnerable on the counter. He's faster than Casemiro. He's got good recovery speed. And imagine Wan-Bissaka running back through midfield on a counter and making a slide tackle. It's kind of what you're getting with Ugarte in that regard. So I think that he was severely underutilized in the second half of the season at PSG. And I think if he's young enough still that Ten Hag can get a lot out of him and help him develop, and I think he's good enough that he would elevate our level in midfield. But again, it's not just that physicality that I think Ten Hag is looking at. Again, Ten Hag loves that total football mentality, that being able to do everything on and off the ball. He relied on that with Alvarez, and he relied on that with Casemiro, and I think that I think Ten Hag and INEOS believe that they can get that out of Ugarte. They can get Ugarte back to what he was at Sporting, where he was getting little progressive carries on the ball. He was getting some good passing numbers, but also while still being an elite level tackler and making interceptions. Again, he was in like that top 1% for tackles and interceptions and like blocks at Sporting. Like, that's impressive. He isn't going to be playing, those pinpoint Hollywood passes like a Toni Kroos. He's not going to be breaking the lines like a Frankie de Jong or anything. But what he does is he excels at winning the ball back and keeping things simple when it comes to finding a teammate or carrying it a couple yards to create space for himself. His pass completion, again, has been in the top 10% for several years now. And that also does not mean that he can't just beat an opposition player with a bit of trickery or drop his shoulder. I've seen him nutmeg people to create space for himself. I've seen him ride tackles. I've seen him just, again, drop a shoulder and leave a defender sitting there. And that, to me, can take a number 6 to a different level where you're able to do something on the ball as well. That is bonus and almost invaluable in that position, because you're not having to constantly sit there and say, look, you need this other player to unlock him, or you need this player to complement him. Like, you can do a little of everything and still be an elite level tackler. Like, that frees up a lot of your teammates to do what they do best. People aren't worried so much about having to cover and kind of fit like a puzzle piece and kind of fill in where your shortcomings start as a player. What we got here from KD? Sounds good. Looks like will be a lot more difficult to run through with Ugarte on the pitch. Best thing is that Onana will face less shots. Maybe we can finally see the what does that say? Yeah, pep rates. Yeah. I think so. We did concede a lot of shots, right? Again, context is key. Like I always say, you got to look at where those shots came from. You got to look at how many of those, because getting a blocked shot is still technically a shot. But if you take a shot from 10 yards out because our defense is so compact and it was blocked, it still counts as a shot. And so that's the kind of stuff the media won't tell you. How many of those shots actually forced saves? Context is like the legs of a stool. You got to have all of them working. You have a couple different points of contact, or else it just doesn't work. Sports predictions. Xerxes deal is close. The Xerxes deal is close. Yeah, I did report on that. That broke from Romano right as I was going live, so I wanted to make sure I noted that Xerxes is very close. Sports predictions. If you want to learn a little bit more about Xerxes, go ahead and watch that scouting report I did the other day. It's a good little video. Sorry, that guy that pep rates on Onana. I rate Onana. Onana was a very, very good keeper at Inter, very good at Ajax. He's actually been good for United. He obviously started off very shaky. Again, I was at that Galatasaray match, Champions League match at Old Trafford. I was literally, my seat was right along kind of like the penalty line when we gave away that penalty when Casemiro, and it was not a good ball from Onana. I think he got some of the Champions League jitters out of him, and we saw him. I wish we would use his passing ability a bit more. I wish we would counterattack a bit more in that regard. I wish we would get Onana to hit a couple more long balls more than we do. I don't think we always need to start to play out from the back. I think when the counter is on, I think we need to take advantage of it because we have the players for it, and we're not getting as much as I think we could sometimes. A lot of the great goals we've scored this year have been from counterattacks. These goals in the FA Cup. Dallo makes a lot of deep runs now to try to get on the end of those. We've seen Onana pinpoint pass to, wingers and tackers who are running it. I would like us to use it a little bit more. Oh, sports prediction saying that David Ornstein has just broke the news, so must have gone since I've been live. Let me check and see while I'm live. I know this is why we do this, right? So yeah, David Ornstein is reporting Man United working to finalize signing of Bologna striker Joshua Zirkzee, personal terms and agent commissions for 23-year-old in place. Clubs talk continue. United exploring whether to activate €40 million release clause or agree a separate price, but the deal is now closed. So you can pretty much take that to the bank now. We've seen it from Romano earlier. Now we've got Ornstein coming out. Looks like Zirkzee is good to go. Again, if you're interested in learning a little bit more about what Zirkzee could bring, if you don't watch as much of Serie A, go check out my video, a little bit about his career, his numbers, his profile, what I think he could do for us, how he could work in Ten Hag's system. Go check that out. Orny plus a follow-up, including, yeah, I love it, man. We're making moves. I know I said, once we hit July and the new financial year started and we were going to start doing some things, I know that we wanted to get some players in before preseason. Obviously, Zirkzee is with the Netherlands. He came on yesterday. I'm repping the Netherlands today. I do always have a soft spot for them. I don't really like Ronald Koeman as a manager. I just don't think he's that good, but do like the Netherlands. It was a little bit of a bummer to see Turkey go out the way they did, just because I thought they looked so good against Austria. I actually thought it was going to be Turkey, England in the semis, but it is what it is. Maybe we can push if we're seriously looking for left backs. Maybe we can push for Kadiaroglu, that left back at Turkey have. He's very, very good. I know we were linked with him a while back. I've watched pretty much every video on your channel, especially the recent one. Oh, good job, man. Appreciate that. Big up, Sports Predictions. Awesome. I love it. It's great to see the subscription count rise. Great to see the community grow. I'm getting a lot of regulars in here on the live chats, getting a lot of regulars in the comments. It's been awesome. And that's, it's so heartwarming to me to see. It's so appreciative. I'm just a United fan who just can't shut up about the club. A bit of a football nerd. If you look behind me, a ton of books. A lot of them are, statistic related, like numbers game, things like that. So I love talking about United. I love talking about United with you guys. I love to hear your opinions. Katie also binging on the video. That's awesome, man. Oh yeah, you're an American too, bro. Awesome. Yeah, big up. Where are you guys watching from? I know we have a subscriber who lives in Nepal. I've seen some people from South Africa, some people from the UK. I'm in Michigan. So it's a beautiful day today. I'm probably going to try to get out a little bit later on and enjoy that. So let me jump back. Oh, certainly in the military. Oh, good job, man. Appreciate that. My wife is a veteran as well, actually. She was in the Air Force Guard for 12 years. Separated now, disability, but she, big up. Big appreciate that. Awesome. How did you celebrate the 4th? You're a fireworks kind of individual. You a barbecue kind of person? Are you not as big into fireworks? I know some veterans have issues with fireworks. But big up, appreciate your service. Awesome. So let's get back to Ugarte real quick. So in Ugarte, United, you're a very good, very physical, very promising kind of N'Golo Kante-esque midfielder. But he's also got that fighting personality of like Lisandro Martinez. If you've watched him, he's just got that I'll fight anybody mentality. And I'd argue that mentality is something that we desperately need on and off the pitch. We saw reports last season that Lisandro Martinez's personality was something that was very sorely missed in the dressing room. He's seen as a leader, and that fighting mentality kind of pushes others to rise to that level. Ugarte is young enough to build upon his current skill set, but he already has a lot of years of experience. Obviously, he was club captain at Phoenix. He was at 18. He made his first team debut for them at 15. He's been playing regular first-team football for 3 or 4 years now. And that captaincy proves that he's a leader and he's got that personality on and off the pitch. He's capable of reading the game and being trusted to be a little bit more composed and implement that bit more of that footballing IQ, to be a lone number 6 in many systems at such a young age. That shows, responsibility, that shows trust, and it shows a reading of the game that very often comes from experience, but in some players it is a bit more natural. PSG's confirmed kind of eagerness to move him on could also present United with a potential bargain if we play our cards right in negotiations. Again, this is something that I think this new recruitment regime could change when it comes to our negotiations. in the past, we'd see Woodward, Arnold, Murtaugh kind of fly out to Paris or Turin, either come back empty-handed or can get completely bent over when it comes to transfer fees or wages. So in the past, we might see them go out. PSG would hold down the fort, and we would pay like 75 million, and we'd end up paying like 250K a week. But I think our new recruitment team seems like they're not going to get roped into transfer sagas and are willing to walk away when it comes to ridiculous demands. We've already kind of walked away from Branthwaite probably because Everton are digging in their heels. And reason we're kind of pushing for Ugarte now is because we pretty much put a second bid for João Neves as a take it or leave it bid. I think it was like 70, 75 million, take it or leave it. What do you guys got to say? I'm watching from Nairobi. Wow, good job, man. Kenya. That's cool, dude. Awesome. What time is it there? It's about 9 a.m. here. Active duty Army, and yes, barbecue and fireworks. Good call, man. Awesome. So on that potential bargain we're getting, so the French football expert Jonathan Johnson claims that United could actually get Ugarte for around half of what PSG paid if we're smart and we kind of wait till later on in the window to kind of drop his price tag a little bit as they get a little bit more desperate. You always take a risk when you wait with a player, especially with Ugarte's performances so far in the Copa America. But again, I think we're a bit skint. We've got to be smart. We've got to stick to our guns, draw a hard line when it comes to negotiating, and know what a player is worth, know what we're willing to pay, and have targets lined up and move on if we need to. 1552 over there. Good job, man. It's no secret that I'm a big Ugarte fan. I touted him as an option a week or so before we were linked with him last month. I did a scouting report on him a long time ago when he was still at Sporting. If you go check on, if you guys play like FC24, if you go look at SoFIFA and scroll down through the comments, eventually you'll find my scouting report link in Ugarte. This was back when I was doing my website for scouting reports, Scoutish. A lot of players on it. And I would link a lot of those scouting reports in the SoFIFA comments. And if you scroll down my Twitter feed or my X feed a long time, you'll see some on there as well. But I do like Ugarte. I've liked Ugarte for a few years. In my opinion, he is the perfect like-for-like Casemiro replacement. But that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion on Ugarte. Have you seen more of him than I have? I'm not able to watch the French league, so anything I've seen from him this year anyway has been in Champions League. But I have been keeping up with his numbers. Obviously, I read a lot as well. But let me know what you think of Ugarte. Have I convinced you of his potential? Do you still have other options, other targets that you would prefer? Would you prefer João Neves? Would you prefer to spend even less on like a Youssouf Fofana at Monaco, who could be available? He's entering the last year of his contract, could be available for like 25, 30 million. That could be half of what we might pay for Ugarte. That could be a shrewd piece of business too. Bro, do you think we should get Wout back? Wout Weghorst? I think Wout Weghorst got a bit of a bad rap. I think he's kind of, the problem with Wout Weghorst is I think he's a little bit more of an old school striker than the modern game demands. I had no problem with Wout Weghorst. I couldn't understand how he got so unlucky in the league in terms of not finding the back of the net. He had a lot of sitters that he missed. I think what we like about him, though, and I think what he brought to this team that I think we still haven't seen from a lot of other players is his energy, his fight, his willingness to put in a shift on and off the ball. He created a lot of problems for the opposition just with the way he pressed, with his movement. Wout Weghorst has that dog in him. He will fight. If you remember in the World Cup, he got carded from the bench before he even entered the game for talking smack on the touchline. Like, he doesn't care, which I like from players. And I think that he could do. I don't know if I'd want him back because at the end of the day, you want your striker to score goals. I think his mentality is sorely missed. But I think that we've got a really good striker in Højlund. I think we're getting a really good one in Zirkzee. But I do hear you on that. Wout Weghorst, he's so fun. I love watching him. Katie, been watching the Uruguay games and I love him, but I feel he's more of a Conte than a Casemiro. He's more of a destroyer. Cass has a lot more progressive passes than Lockyer. Cass does have a lot more progressive passes. I think in his prime, Casemiro is better than what Ugarte is now. Whether or not Ugarte can reach that level or above is still yet to be seen. But yeah, Casemiro does have a lot of good progressive passes. What I think Ugarte can offer, though, that in that regard that Casemiro doesn't, is his carrying the ball. Casemiro's not really good with the ball at his feet. He gets caught out in possession a lot. And I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying anything. I think they're very different. I think Ugarte is more of a destroyer than Casemiro is. But he is more like a Conte. He is more of a one to win the ball back, find the teammate real quick, and that's my job, which I don't have a problem with. I think we can get him back to what he was at Sporting, where he's able to kind of carry the ball a little bit when he does win it back and not force a pass or lose the ball. I think we saw that diminish a little bit at PSG, but he's got that in his locker because he has shown it. Sports speaking, Weghorst, his pressing was vital. His pressing was so vital. I think it goes under the radar just what he did for us in that final third, just with his pressing. He won the ball back quite a bit on his own in the final third, or he forced like an error from the opposition by getting in their face, pressing them and forcing them, and it caused turnovers many times. We saw that from some other players as well, like Anthony forced that turnover later in the season last year. Like, if you press the opposition and you know how to do it well as a team, you can force those kind of errors. Yes, you may not like keep the keeper or defender for example, from making a pass, but if you press them, get in their face, you cut down their angles, they can make a bad pass. It goes out of play. You guys recover it real quick. Like, it can force a bad touch from their teammate. You can do a lot. It's just we need a little bit more of that energy, and I think that Weghorst showed that. We've seen that from like Højlund has done that as well. I need you talking about Weghorst. Katie, I really like Weghorst, but it wasn't exactly lethal in front of goal. Ugarte will be a great fit behind Manu. I think Ugarte could see us even move to a 4-3-3 as well. Maybe drop Bruno back a little deeper. Bruno plays deep a lot too, especially in the final 15, 20 minutes of matches. He'll drop back a lot to kind of pick up the ball from the defense, turn around. He's got the whole pitch ahead of him, and he kind of dictates play. Bruno can play in a deeper role as well. I think that I don't think we can see Bruno just in a double pivot, though, alongside someone like Manu or even alongside Ugarte. I think Bruno as an 8 instead of a 10 in a 4-3-3 could really work as well. We could play a 4-3-3 at times. I think sometimes it's going to depend on the opposition. Sometimes it's going to depend on, if you're in possession or you're out of possession, what that midfield looks like. You got to remember, the starting 11 on paper, the formation on paper isn't necessarily what your formation is throughout the match either. There are triggers for this. There are patterns you implement on and off the ball. I do like Weghorst. I had the good fortune of actually seeing a rare Weghorst goal at Old Trafford when I was at the Europa League match against Real Betis, and we won that one. That was the first time I was at Old Trafford, actually, when I flew in for that. Cold, snowy, windy night. We won. What did we win? That 4-1 or something. So I did see Weghorst's goal, and it was a good moment. We celebrated hard for Weghorst that night. Hashtag get in the horse, right? So let me know what you guys think about Ugarte. You guys like him? I know, I'm Katie in Sports Fiction. You like him? You think maybe he could do a little bit more on the ball? I think if we can move the ball quickly, I think that's been my biggest issue sometimes, is we're a little too hesitant to move the ball. And I've been saying it with these last couple rounds of the Euros as well. These teams are not moving the ball quite quickly enough. We saw that with United too. When we get into the final third especially, it's one too many touches. It's just one too many steps on the ball, and it allows the opposition to get back into position. We need to move the ball quick. Win the ball, find Manu, find Bruno, move, transition. So before I go, because that's going to do it for my Ugarte thing, I do want to announce the winner of one of the giveaways. Now, you remember we did this giveaway, and I didn't hear back from the first guy who won it. And then the last winner graciously said, you don't have to suspend to send it to me. I live in Nepal. It's going to be very, very expensive, which I don't necessarily have a problem with. But I wanted to respect his decision, and I wanted to show big support. I want to do another one. So this is, again, that pre-match top from last season, some medium, and this is going to AA, subscriber. He was involved in some comments. Again, these are random, so I'm not playing favorites. If you want to get involved, just keep subscribing. But AA, you are the winner of this pre-match top from last season. Congratulations. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing. Get me your contact info at unitedstatesofunited@gmail.com. and I will pop this in the post as soon as I can. Don't forget, I did promise to do another giveaway to celebrate our first signing, which looks like it could be any second now with Xerxes. So this is another pre-match top. This is from, I think, 1920 or 2021. I can't remember exactly. So if you know, let me know. It's another medium. It's brand new. It's got the heat transfer badge on it, not the sewn-on badge, just one. So it might fit a little more snug than a normal medium, but that is brand new. That'll go. We'll do that giveaway when we make our first signing. Katie, I do like the Ugarte link. I think there's a lot of these fans right now who are getting impatient. They're just like, sign someone, sign someone, sign someone. And I'm like, a lot of big clubs have waited till July to make their signings because of finances. FFP, PSR, they've all come down hard this past year. So a lot of clubs did have to wait to do that, United included. And so I think that, and then whenever I think of just make a signing, I think back to Ralph Ragnick. And yeah, it didn't work out for him at United, but he's one of the best technical directors you're ever going to see, one of the best talent IDs you're ever going to see. And he said it's better to not make a signing than to make the wrong signing. And so you have to really do your diligence. Xerxes, is there breaking news? What's going on here? So we're pushing hard, huh? Katie says, of all the signings, the Xerxes one excites me the most. We're finally signing a future world-class player before they explode and cost the bomb. And that's kind of the key, right? I think that's a problem too, is we've had such lackluster scouting and talent ID that we're signing these players when they're on their big contracts. Guys like Di Maria, Cavani, and Lukaku, Pogba, and things where we can do a little bit of scouting, have some good coaching involved. I think we can get some of these players. And that's not me saying that we need to be a selling team like an Ajax or a Dortmund or like a Brighton where we want to flip these guys for profit. But I think that it takes a lot of really good meticulous scouting and a really good eye and obviously a lot of analyzing to see and to kind of predict who of these players is ready for that step and what they could do. Are they on the cusp of doing that? And so Pletigo followed up confirming the deal is almost done. So we could see that next giveaway coming up soon. So we'll see. But anyway, that one going to AA. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video. I will do that other giveaway when we confirm our next signing. But that's going to be all from me. Check out some of my other videos if you want to learn a little bit more about Xerxes, a little bit more about Matthias de Ligt, what he could bring to United, our coaching staff recruitments. I did those videos on Rene Haka, on Ruud van Nistelrooy that I think that show a lot of what they can offer us as coaches. You can even go check out some of my other videos on some of my transfer targets. I did videos on targets for striker, midfield, which might be moot, center back might be moot, but I did some left back ones too. So there might be some left backs you can learn about. And then I did that one on bargains. But that's all for me today. Big deep dive on Manuel Ugarte, what I think he could bring to United, what his numbers look like, and what his career has been like. I think he could be a really good midfield signing for us. If we don't end up going, if I had to choose right now between Ugarte and Neves, and money wasn't an object, I would probably go with João Neves because I think that his ceiling is higher, and I think right now he is an overall a better player. I think he has that perfect mix of defense, offense capability. But that's just me. Let me know your thoughts. Cheers. Have a good one, and salute to those in the service. All good. Big up, KD. Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys for joining the live chat. It's good to see some regulars popping up. It's good to see people getting involved. Let me know your opinions. I don't like just being here and talking on soap. I love to get opinions. I love to get feedback. I love to get perspectives because that's key, right? Perspective, context is key. And so I'm appreciative of everybody getting involved, everybody supporting the channel, seeing the channel grow. Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. So I appreciate all you guys. That's going to do it for me today. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you guys on the next one, maybe sooner or later, if we announce the Xerxes signing. So big up, and I will see you guys later. Take it easy.